So this is sort of an apology thing because what something we have missed in the other class. The sole objective of this entire prerequisite class is to give you context of whatever things you have already learned in the last semester, but probably have missed the context that how things evolved there, that why these things we need to learn, why the particular definition generated these many sums, why after this particular concept the another concept followed. So I am just trying to give you the context, and in that line of context, that is the sole objective of this course. I'm not providing you with any proof or anything. So in that objective, I missed something, that I missed some context. So we will be just filling out that context today. So there has been a slip of context in the last class. Right after the definition of subsequential limit, we went on to define the limit superior and limit inferior as the supremum and infimum respectively of the set S of all subsequential limits for a given sequence xn, right? So this is the definition of limit superior and inferior. Xn is a sequence, and let S be the set of all subsequential limits, and the subsequential limit definition of subsequential limit is this limit of a subsequence and including plus or minus infinity. So we included S can conclude S can include infinities as well. Then supremum of S is called the limit superior, or simply lim sup of xn, and is denoted by this notation. On the other hand, limit inferior is the infimum of S. So so that is what we did. Now, what we missed over here is that who guarantees that the set S is not empty? Whenever we are trying to get supremum and infimum of a set, the first thing we want to make sure is the set is not empty. So that is something we did not prove over here. So that is the missing of the context, what I actually mean by this. So I must show that a proper coherent context in this regard will be to show that the set S is never empty for any sequence. So in today's class, let us first repair this error. For a given sequence xn, we want to confirm that the set S of all subsequential limits is never empty. We provide the proof of this fact in two cases by considering the given sequence is bounded and unbounded, in the respective cases. Okay. A little recap for Shomojit who joined late. We are doing a sort of apology. I missed something to say in the context I was providing you with the chapter of sequences. So today we are just repairing that error. So in the last class, we define subsequential limit, and we define lim sup and limin of a sequence by supremum of S, supremum of the set of all subsequential limits, and the infimum of set of all sequential limits. So that is for that we need to assure that the set S of all subsequential limits of the sequence xn must be non-empty. So that is what we are going to show today. So for the bounded case, the celebrated theorem of Bolzano-Weierstrass comes into play, which says a bounded sequence of real numbers has a convergent subsequence. You already know this theorem, have seen the proofs many number of times, have practiced the proof of this many number of times. So this is the whole purpose of Bolzano-Weierstrass, not the whole purpose, but the main purpose in Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem in this context is that it provides with the fact that a bounded sequence, for a bounded sequence we always have a convergent subsequence. So this set is, let S be the set of all subsequential limits of xn. So if xn is bounded, then S is not an empty set. So Bolzano-Weierstrass guarantees that. That is the purpose of Bolzano-Weierstrass in this particular context over here. Clear? So that is why we do have to do Bolzano-Weierstrass. That we can we know that the set of all subsequential limits of a particular of a bounded sequence is not empty. So Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. Now, in case of an unbounded sequence, so for Bolzano-Weierstrass, we have seen that this is a fact. But for the unbounded sequence, we probably do not see the proof of this next theorem. An unbounded sequence of real numbers has a subsequence diverging to infinity. Infinity, by infinity I mean plus or minus infinity. An unbounded sequence of real numbers has a subsequence diverging to infinity. Proof is easy. Without loss of generality, assume that the sequence xn is unbounded above. Then there exists a term xn1. There exists a term xn1 from the sequence xn such that xn1 is greater than 1. The sequence xn is unbounded above. So there is at least one term which is greater than 1. It has to be, otherwise if all the terms are less than 1, then it is bounded above. So that is, which since it is not the case, then we must find a term xn1 which is more than 1. Agreed? Next, there exists another term xn2 of the same sequence such that xn2 is greater than 2. This is what we get from exploiting the definition of unbounded sequence. xn2 is greater than 2. Also, in 2, the term index in 2 is greater than in 1. That means the term x into is coming after x in 1 in the sequence xn. How do we guarantee that? Now, what is the opposite statement of this one? Let's see. So we want to guarantee that this is the case. Now, what is the opposite statement of this one? The opposite statement is for every n2 greater than n1, x n2 is smaller than or equal to 2. That is the opposite statement, negation of this statement. There exists another term xn2 such that xn2 is greater than 2 and n2 greater than n1. The negation of this statement is for every index n2 greater than n1, xn2 will be smaller than or equal to 2. That means, so let me write it if I have the word. Yeah, I have the word file open here. So that means what we want to say is for all n2 greater than n1, we have x n2 is smaller than or equal to 2. So this is the negation of the statement what I have written here. If this is not true, if we are doubting that this may not be the case, then this must be the case, right? If this is not true, then this is false. That means this must be true. So that means you see this is n2 is a dummy variable. So let me just write for all n greater than n1, we have xn is less than or equal to 2. That means the entire tail of the sequence xn is less than or equal to 2. So that means this is bounded above, but according to our assumption, it is unbounded above. So that means let me switch off the notifications. Do not disturb. So that means this x into term must exist which is greater than 2 and for which the term index into is greater than the term index in 1. Fine. So this says, continuing thus, exploiting the definition of an unbounded sequence, we can guarantee that for each positive integer k, there exists a term x in k plus 1 from the sequence xn such that x in k plus 1 is greater than k plus 1 and n k plus 1 is greater than nk. Right? So just like that, x n1 is greater than 1. We do not have anything to compare with this. X n2 is greater than 2 and n2 is greater than n1. We can find x n3 is greater than 3 and n3 is greater than n2. X n4 will be greater than 4 and n4 will be greater than n3 and so on. So in this way we can find the subsequence, hence the subsequence x n k diverges to infinity. Okay, similar will be the case for an unbounded below sequence. There we can take xn is smaller than minus n. Okay, so that's the proof. An unbounded sequence of real numbers has a subsequence diverging to plus infinity or minus infinity. So since we have allowed the set S of all subsequential limits to include both finite and infinite values, the above two theorems guarantee that S is never empty. Okay, hence we can talk about supremum S and infimum S, that is of limit superior and limit inferior for any given sequence.